and changes the paradigm, and is something that you could see Michael actually wearing to play basketball in. And then, but the machine that built the machine was actually literally so that it could bring an arm inside. Had a receiver and a giver on the inside as well as the outside, and actually do this particular stitch that held the upper to the tooling. And then tolerances it took to do that, and design this piece to accept it. It was just, that was where a lot of hand signals and like language characteristics and things were challenging, because you're talking about very tight tolerances. And in shoes, the tolerances are pretty, you know, it's a little bit here and a little bit there. Stuff grows 1% or 2% or 5%. Not in this one. We had to be really exact, and we said let's push ourselves even further. And then the aesthetic came from let's put his fingerprint on it, and that's his fingerprint, kind of. Can't really publish his fingerprint, although I have it in my sketchbook. And then we said let's tell the story, and on the inside. He put his thumbprint not only on the shoe, but then also on the industry and on the world. And the storytelling behind that is a lot of fun, because it actually is upside down, and it's, when you grab your shoe like that, it fits you. So you kind of have this connection to the guy. And that's pretty cool, because kids immediately caught on to that. And so it was storytelling, and it was personal and professional, and it was along a journey, and we did a lot of other things, like the aesthetic of this really was counter. We like to do a lot of counter-intuitive lines that tell a compelling story, but it's actually about fit on the inside. We did a lot of stuff on the inside. We've got a signature on the forefoot. We beautified it by saying, let's make it right first, and then design it along the way to finishing it so that it's compelling and it has a value. And lo and behold, it turned out to be a great performance shoe. It turned out to be the highest level considered in Set a Bar, and it changed from a tree hugger to a basketball shoe really quickly. If you think about the process being about 6 months to 7 months, that was not a kind hand gesture you just made. I think I'm being told to do this. Anyway, it was an incredible journey along the way of telling stories through doing the right thing, educating, and then we took the tools that it took to create this and broadcast that to Nike and basketball and Jordan, and said, let's apply this to more thinking across basketball and training and running and every category. And so that leads us to kind of the last part of it, which is, if we did the right thing, and kind of fearlessly go down the path of, and it's just a shoe, it's just for basketball, but it will impact, and it does impact us daily, because now, as we were on the journey, and that program needed more funding and more people and more effort and more energy and more visibility, it actually galvanized people around it, saying, oh, well, if you can do this, imagine what you can do across a whole broad spectrum. So take it from the team, put it in the community, and now hit the world with it. It was an incredible, incredible journey to be able to be part of that, and be able to sit here and tell you guys that little story instead of Tinker telling it. And so I'll open it up to questions, and say, well, I'll say this. So we've applied it, and this was the 23rd shoe. We're on the 27th shoe now, so it's about my math is bad, 4 or 5 years ago. It seems ancient, but it still seems very modern. It's like ancient because we did it 6 years ago. It came out 4 years ago, and it's still around, and it feels right for the right time, the right place. And we took and applied it, and now we have a considered rating, gold, silver, and bronze, which is a dichotomy. I have an issue with that, because those are like some of the 3 most resource-heavy metals to produce. I go, okay, but I get it. On the metal stand, you've got gold and silver and bronze, but I don't know. I think bamboo and like grass and something else would be appropriate. But what we do now is we have a program where everything is rated on a considered rating. And in Jordan, as I've been there the past 3 years, I've really tried my best to work our considered rating higher and lead the charge. And that goes all the way through to packaging, that goes through to printing, that goes through everything. And we don't broadcast that because we know it's the right thing to do, and it's not the solution, it's on the way to the solution. And so it's just a cool thing to be able to share this with you this evening, and I'd open it up to questions for you guys. Or did you, wait, we rehearsed this. We're gonna have a banter for a second here and make it sound natural.
I was gonna just take first pick at a couple questions and then
Sure.
just jump into the mic after that. Fascinating story, Mark, thank you.
Sure.
One of the things that you talking about in the garden was how you've had this relationship with Michael Jordan, right? One of the icons of sport. And it's gone back into product and design, and you've worked with him for 17 years. And I guess maybe I'd just love to hear a little bit more about how that collaborative process works, about what his design criteria, what inspires him, and obviously this is a product that has inspired him, but just maybe a little more on that.
The process with Michael, and I came in, again, Tinker started it, and he took a chance on me, and that's the other thing, take chances on people around you, because they're the ones that are gonna lift you up and make you look good. Tinker hears that right now, I can tell. Michael takes chances on people, and he encourages risk-taking. And I think those are two incredibly important things that, no matter what the endeavor is, if you don't take the chance and if you don't trust the people who are around you to help you, then you're kind of stuck. You're stuck kind of where you are with just yourself. He encourages that, and his process is, I was fortunate enough to come in, and I lived maybe my first 4 or 5 years, like literally behind a camera. And it was when the big old VHS camera was over your shoulder and it was like this. And Tinker said, there's this guy and he's going to document all this stuff, but he actually does design work. And what I did was I actually watched it and I noticed how those guys work together. And it was a mutual respect for kind of the best in each other's worlds. And they'd spar and jive around, but when it came down to the work was, Tinker would ask the right question. What are you interested in? What's piquing your interest in fashion or in design or in cars or, and he'd open his closet to Tinker and show him what he was wearing or what suits he was having. And so Michael actually has this very keen eye for design and style and detail, incredible detail, more than any other athlete or celebrity I've ever worked with, and I'm sure Tinker would agree with that. Because they kind of came up through this industry together and defined what that industry was going to be together. They have an innate sense of risk-taking together, trusting each other, teamwork, individual personalities. They fight, and I think that's cool. And then they make up, just like other relations. I've been a marriage counselor to the two of them a number of times, and I have video evidence of it too. But what inspired me about it was to see that they could communicate at a deeper level than just, hey, let's sell a bunch of shoes. It had to work, it had to perform, and they talked about the shoe from the inside out first, and then they started bringing, I think I was explaining to you, like, my favorite meetings with him are when you bring an idea and it's raw, and it's ugly, and it was really on this particular shoe, and you put the shoe, and he can actually see it. He can see a sketch, and then he can see a raw piece. And then you can pull like different materials and different graphics and patterns, and he can pull the pieces and put them together and go, what about these combinations? And I think that's an incredibly unique, anybody can put those together, but it's not easy to make them look really great. And he freaked me out one time. I like to say I'm a design, I can pick a detail out. And he said, and I think it was this, yeah, he pulled out these things, and he was wearing this cool suit, beautiful suit, and he was on his way to an event, and we were just rushing him, and he said, look, it's like this gray and like this black when you put those together, but when you get this blue, it's like this blue that's in my suit. And I swear, it was an entire suit that was gray, but every like 40th, there was a blue line. And I was like, damn, he saw that before I did. And I go, that's the trademark of somebody who understands detail and understands how to put things together. And so he's got a refined style of that. And I think that's inspiring to me, is to work with somebody who's going to call you on it that quickly. Yeah.
So this was 23 and you're on 27 with, is that Jordan Considered? Or can you tell us a little bit more about Considered and how that, and you said a couple things about Nike's almost evolution and around sustainability and all that kind of stuff.
So now there's a large team of people, very smart, very intelligent, very together, creative and analytical people who take this and can do sets of metrics across the entire organization for footwear, apparel, accessories, all the way to brand printing, to posters, to anything that we produce. There's a metric for its footprint on the planet, and we've said, here's where we were, and here's where we want to get. We want to get to neutral, and we've got a long path. But there's only one way to get there, and that's actually to measure it. The measuring tool is incredibly complex, and it's going at such a rate. The business is going at such a rate that just to keep up with it is a daunting task. And I don't really know how they do it. I just know that we can employ it, and we try and up it. We do. I shouldn't say we try. Every season we bring another level to the overall collection versus just one product. But it really did start with one product. I got to say there were a lot of products before this in the lifestyle zone that made a lot of difference. But for me, the galvanizing one was shifting it to be performance, which is what our brands are about. And so I think that was, you should probably have better people from the Considered group come and explain, because I will butcher their efforts tremendously in my effort to say that that it is one of the key driving principles at Nike and at Jordan is to lead in this path completely.
I want to ask just one more question, and then I'll hand it over to everyone else. And I guess this question, as we work with teens around design, I know Rose works with youth in design, and so does Betsy and a lot of others here. I guess wondered what your perspectives are on the future of design and sustainability, and how you see the future generations coming into contact with that and all that kind of stuff.
I think sustainability, okay, first it is kind of fashionable because you could put a kind of unfinished label on something and call it the sustainable or something like that, and then you made a bunch of money and people noticed it, and then it was on TV. People sold Priuses and bought Priuses and promoted Priuses, and it was the right thing to do. It's like ultimately the right thing to do. But I think as far as education and young people, where, okay, this is respectful of everybody here except for maybe one or two people who are under the age of, I don't know, in their 20s, let's say. It's new to us. So we're adopting it. I'm already too old to say this is my lifestyle. I think it's incredibly important, the same way that you teach math, you should be teaching art and creativity at the youngest levels, at the very youngest, like, your first 10 words should be about family, and the next 10 should be about creativity, and the next 10 should be about how you're going to live on this planet. And they should become innate. And I think that if we don't support that and we don't promote it, then we're missing a great opportunity for it to just become operating procedure versus learned and applied. It just becomes operating procedure. And I think when we bring new talent into our brands and we design, we immediately say, learn this Considered thing. This is a big deal about how we're going to not only make profit, not only provide product for athletes, but how we're going to operate as we move forward in the future as a large company that's going to hopefully lead this industry and the world in these efforts. So I think if we don't take that opportunity, we're just missing it. It's our opportunity to make a difference with the kids, and I like saying with the kids because now I sound like an old guy, like Tinker.